The Mike White experience is over. Zach Wilson needs to start next week against the Miami Dolphins. Today, we're going to be talking about that debacle that was the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. If you missed it, well, don't go and rewatch it because it stunk. The Jets were absolutely embarrassed at home. Final score, Bills 45, Jets 17. And look, we should have saw this one coming. Let's be real. The Jets had all this momentum in the Mike White era. And then we all have to remember that Mike White is a backup quarterback and the Jets defense is still the Jets defense. It's still awful. So the Jets win this game, or the Bills win this game. And we're going to talk about the good. There wasn't much of it. And we're going to talk plenty about the bad. But first, if you're new to the channel, I ask that you do me a favor. Help me grow it by hitting the subscribe button over here. I'm almost at 8,000 subscribers. So a big thank you to everyone who takes time to watch the content. We have post-game shows after every game. We do daily Jets videos. And I post clips to my radio show either on ESPN Radio here in Houston or on Sports Map Radio, which is the national show I do every Saturday from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time. I mean, look, let's start with just the obvious here. The Mike White era, I said it at the top, it's over. He was awful today. And today, we all saw why the Jets made the trade for Joe Flacco in the first place. They were as surprised as we all were that Mike White did what he did against the Bengals. So to all the Jet fans that anointed Mike White as a Hall of Famer, I hope you're happy. To all the Jet fans that said Zach Wilson stinks, he's a bust, Mike White's our guy, I hope you're happy because that was irrational. It was BS. It was garbage. I was rooting like hell for Mike White today, but I knew in the back of my head and back of my mind, I knew that it was not sustainable to expect a fifth-round pick who's been cut 11 times to play great and steal the job away from the second overall pick who needs playing time now down, for the final 8 games of the season here to go out there and develop. So the Mike White stuff, look, it's over with. To all the Jet fans that anointed him as a Hall of Famer, I hope you eat your words here because the reality is Zach Wilson needs to play these last 8 games. He needs to go out there and get experience and continue to improve because that's what the season is still all about. Because you look at the Jets right now, I mean, they were horrendous today, absolutely horrendous. But you look at the schedule coming up, Miami, Houston, Philly, New Orleans, Miami, Jacksonville. Those are some games there that the Jets better be competitive in. Better go out there and have a chance to win. This team is not finishing 2-15, but today they played like a team that was 2-15. We'll get to the defense here in a moment. Just want to give some more thoughts on what we saw from this offense. I mean, look, Mike White, it was a nice story, but you knew right away something was different. The Jets' first 3 possessions in this game, 2 3-and-outs and an interception. By the end there, Mike White was just chucking it up. He looked rattled. He looked lost. The Bills did a good job taking away the Jets' short passing game and dared Mike White to beat them deep over the middle, and that just didn't happen. I mean, the Jets just had nothing going offensively. Mike White finishes with 4 interceptions, a quarterback rating of 33.4. I mean, he was bad, and I don't want to pile on Mike White because he's a backup quarterback. He was a 5th-round pick for a reason, but it's time to move off of the Mike White stuff. The reality is Zach Wilson is the quarterback for this team going forward. The only positive, if we could call it a positive, is that we do not need to now hear about a quarterback controversy that, as I said all week on this show, it didn't exist. If Mike White played great. I'd be happy for him, and I want him to go out there and continue to play well. And if he's truly that guy, then go take the job. But he's not that guy. He's just not. And Zach Wilson needs the opportunity to play down the stretch here and get those reps, get experience. He's going to benefit from sitting these last 3 weeks, and he's going to benefit from Mike LaFleur being up in the booth. He's also, as I mentioned, going to benefit from the schedule the Jets have coming up. A home game against Miami next week. That's a winnable game. Here in Houston at the Texans. I'll be at that game. Fellow Jet fans, if you're there, let me know. We got a big pregame tailgate going on in the Blue Lot at NRG Stadium. That's a winnable game against the Texans team that stinks. Eagles, Saints, Miami, Jacksonville. Those are the next 6 games. The Jets better show up. I mean, offensively, Wilson better come back and play really well. There's no excuses. Elijah Moore has played well. Michael Carter looks good. The Jets need to go out there and put something together down the stretch here from an offensive standpoint. But today was the end of the Mike White era. It was never really an era. I never bought into it. I'm rooting him well. Maybe he could be a long-term backup for this team. but he's a limited quarterback. And, despite the fact he went out there and he had a really good performance against the Cincinnati Bengals, it does not take away from the plan all along that Zach Wilson needs to play and develop. And the Jets have shown you they still believe in Zach because they hired John Beck the game after the Cincinnati game. They brought in John Beck, Wilson's personal quarterback coach. So Zach Wilson's the future of this team. Developing him down the stretch is the biggest thing for the Jets as they head into the offseason and hopefully try and improve this team because, for God's sakes, this today defensively was a joke. And now allow me to tee off on this New York Jets defense because out of all the years I've been watching the Jets, I think you can argue that the stretch we've seen defensively from this team is the worst it's been since 1996 with Kotite. All the numbers back that up. I mean, the Jets defense has now allowed 54 points to the Patriots, 31 points to the Bengals, 45 points to the Colts, and 45 points to the Bills. 4 straight games allowing that many points, allowing 54, 31, 45, and 45 points to those teams. That is a joke. This defense is ass. This defense stinks. The defensive line, I understand Carl Lawson's not there. I understand Vinny Curry's not there. But this defensive line is the most overrated unit on this football team. They're one of the most overrated units in the NFL. John Franklin Myers, where's he been since he signed his contract? Quinnen Williams, you want to be an all-pro, 3rd overall pick? How about you do something? I mean, this defensive line has done nothing. Robert Saleh told Troy Aikman and Joe Buck that it's the best defensive line group that he's been around. That's a bunch of nonsense. He was with the Niners where they had Nick Bosa and all those dudes. This team stinks up front right now. They can't do anything. And I don't want to just single out the defensive line because linebacker-wise, this team is awful outside of C.J. Mosley, who even he has not played that well the past couple of games. In the secondary, they have some young corners that at times have flashed potential. But at other times, they've been absolutely toasted. And what is Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich doing, calling single coverage for Stephon Diggs that many times? How does that happen? How do we all know watching the game that that's the wrong play call? And they don't. Robert Saleh said this past week that he's not going to be that more involved with the defense because he believes in the guys on his coaching staff. And that should change. That was last week. This week, going forward, when you got the Dolphins and the Texans and the Eagles coming up, you need to be more involved in fixing your defense. You were hired because you're a defensive genius, because you turned the Niners around, because everyone was singing your praises. Robert Saleh has to be more involved with this Jets defense. That's his bread and butter. That's his specialty. Show us something, because it's been a joke watching the Patriot game, the Bengal game, the Colt game, and today against the Bills. This defense get absolutely shredded. It was a joke. So this defense has to get better. And I'm not leaving out safety either. Oh, by the way, the Jets safety play, I understand Marcus May is hurt. I understand LaMarcus Joyner got hurt before the year started. It stinks. It stinks. Look, it's one thing to lose to the Bills. I did not think the Jets were going to win today. If you watched the show all week, I feared something like this was going to happen. But my God, I didn't think it'd be this bad. 45-17 is a joke. And the 17 is BS because it came in garbage time, the last touchdown. So, I mean, this was an ass whooping. This was a joke from top to bottom. Defensively, they got to figure something out because it does not make any sense why the Jets are this bad. Because, in fairness, at the beginning of the season, Ulbrich did a pretty good job, I thought, with this Jets defense. The Jets defense was not their problem the first month of the season. But since the New England game, really, you go back to the Falcon game in London, they couldn't get a stop to save anyone's life. As Bart Scott would say, they couldn't stop a nosebleed. But they haven't been able to stop a nosebleed since it's been so bad defensively. So they got to fix this. I mean, Robert Saleh's got to be more involved. The Jets defense ranks 32nd in points allowed, yards allowed, and DVOA. It's an abomination how bad this defense is. So while the story is going to be the end of the Mike White era, and rightfully so, now we shift our attention to Zach Wilson playing, hopefully playing well and developing down the stretch. This defense sucks, and they do not deserve a free pass. They are awful, an awful defense, and I cannot stress that enough. Awful. needs to be fixed. They got 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. If they're not drafting a corner, if they're not drafting like a linebacker, if they're not using free agency to drastically improve this defense this offseason, and then shame on Joe Douglas, because I've been fair with Douglas. There's been some good. There's also been a lot of bad. This team right now stinks, and everyone should be held accountable for what we have seen so far. Before we move on to some of your questions, to some of your comments, I ask if you're new to the channel, once again, subscribe over here, like the video down below. There is a way to click that like button. It's the thumbs up icon. I need you to smash the like button. Even if you think the Jets stink like I do, you can at least help the channel. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. Thanks for helping grow this channel. With that being said, let's open it up with some comments and some questions. What are you guys thinking? Obviously, we're all not happy with what we watched today. Matthew Siegel writes in, sheesh, the problem is the defense. Mike White was never going to be the next Tom Brady. There was a reason he hasn't played, and it was great while it lasted. Let Wilson sling it versus 3 favorable opponents. Look, if there's one thing to say from how bad this game was, it makes it easy for the Jets to go out there now and give Zach Wilson the job back. Not that I ever thought that he wasn't going to get the job back, because I was excited about Mike White, but I was realistic about Mike White. I didn't think he was going to go out there today and ball out. So Zach Wilson needs to play down the stretch. He's the future of this team. He needs to get his reps. He needs to show that he's learned from sitting out these last 3 weeks. He needs to get the benefit of LaFleur up in the booth. Like, let's go. Let's see something here down the stretch. The Bills game, this was always going to be a tough game for the Jets to win, especially given the Bills coming off a brutal loss to the stinking Jaguars. No excuse, though. Jets need to go out there. They need to play well down the stretch. The schedule sets them up favorably. I don't care if the Dolphins just beat the Ravens. That doesn't mean anything to me. Jets at home against a team that is also in flux at the quarterback spot. Go out there and show us something next week in the return of Zach Wilson. Let's see what we got here. James writes in, same old Jets. The official countdown to the draft has begun, but the way I see it, they're still 2 years away from being competing to not get embarrassed by looking bad while losing. Look, the countdown to the draft has not necessarily begun because the Jets aren't tanking. Like, wherever they end up, they end up. If Joe Douglas is worth his salt as a GM, he'll find talent no matter where they are. You don't need to just be picking in the top 5 to do that, as we've seen with the Elijah Vera Tucker trade. They got him at 14. So the reality is the draft is not my concern right now. My concern and my attention is on, 1, Zach Wilson playing and hopefully playing well down the stretch, and 2, this defense not sucking. This defense getting better, because it's a joke, and I'm tired of watching this team go out there and just get their ass kicked in games. No one's expecting wins, but stop being embarrassed in these games. It's a joke. Jeff Whitlock writes in, regression towards the mean, a phenomenon that more sports fans should be aware of. Yes, Jeff, of course, referring to the end of the Mike White experience that we all enjoyed. We'll never forget that Halloween win over the Bengals. But that's what it was. It was a moment. That's all it ends up being. Zach Wilson needs to play now going forward. What else do we have here? The Jets need to draft a lot of defensive players in 2022. They're a bad team. They need everything. They need another stud wide receiver. They need, obviously, help at tight end. I mean, I was furious watching Ryan Griffin today. He stinks. It's just they need help on offense. They certainly need to address defense. But ultimately, they need to go out there and see this quarterback and Zach Wilson play well down the stretch. That sets everything up going into the year 2 of this regime. Let's see. Mike Bruno writes in, torture. Yeah, it has been torture. Make no mistake about it. The Jets need to figure out how to pass the ball to Elijah Moore a lot more. Well, in fairness, Paul, they were doing that the last 2 games. Today, I mean, Mike White was bad, so you did not see the offense run through Elijah Moore the way it did. Speaking of Jets wide receivers, though, I should have got to this in my rant. Corey Davis has been a massive disappointment for this team so far. He was a really good week 1, and give him credit, but I'm sorry. That fumble at the end of the half, it probably ends up not mattering because we know how bad the Jets defense is, and they got absolutely torched in the second half. But if Corey Davis makes that catch, completes it, doesn't fumble, I don't know if the Jets score a touchdown at the end of the half there when they're down, but they might get a field goal. They're already in field goal range at that point. And if you look at the halftime score, it was 17-3. All of a sudden it's 17-6. It probably doesn't end up mattering because the final score was the final score. But my God, was that fumble painful. And that's kind of a microcosm of Corey Davis' season. There's been some impressiveness to it, and there's also just been some absurdity to it. And that play was a microcosm of his season and very, very much disappointment. Let's see. Johnny Jets writes in, imagine if Wilson comes back and plays poorly. I mean, look, he's a rookie. It could certainly happen. The point is, he's played 6 games in his career. There's 8 games left in the season. Zach Wilson needs to play the last 8. Like, today makes it easy to go back to him. Good or bad from Zach going forward, 8 games left. The Jets need Zach Wilson to go out there and play, get reps, get that experience. It's also worth noting that out of the games left here, the Dolphin game is home, the Eagle game is home, the Saint game is home, Jaguars are home, the Bucs game is home. The Jets have 5 home games left compared to only 3 road games left. One of them is here in Houston against the Texans. It's going to be a lot of Jet fans there. Like, the Texans are not going to show up for that game. Believe me, the ticket prices are cheap. So if you're going, I look forward to seeing you if you are a Houston native like I am now. But that being said, Wilson has to come back and just play. Good or bad, he's got to play, because the reality is, like, the Jets need to find out what he is. I'm not saying they're going to move off of Wilson after just 1 year, but he's got to play. Like, they invested the 2nd overall pick into him. They brought in his personal quarterback coach. Let's find out if he plays bad or if he plays well. Either way, the whole point is the Mike White stuff's over with. Zach Wilson's got to play. Paris writes in, there was no film on Mike White before they played the Bengals. It's a good point. There was now film on Mike White. You could clearly see what the Bills were doing. They loaded the box up front. They made Mike White try and beat them over the top. And, well, guess what? He couldn't. He didn't throw the ball downfield. He kept checking it down, and the Bills were ready for it. I also thought the Jets were way too pass happy early. The running game was going at times, and the floor, I thought, went away from it a little bit. But the reality is, when you turn the ball over the amount of times the Jets did, you don't got a shot. O-line penalties, another issue. It's just not good. It's the penalties, the sloppiness, awful. Ashton Davis, not good. Another guy I'm talking about. Hunter writes in, all the fans left the stadium with 10 minutes left. I mean, a lot of the fans left the stadium in the 3rd quarter. If you're a Jet fan and you're sitting there, I don't blame you for leaving. If you're going to invest your time and money to go to that dump that is MetLife Stadium and have to deal, if you're coming from Long Island like I used to when I'd go to games, or if you're coming from, Westchester or the city, getting to MetLife Stadium is hell on earth. It's the worst. So if you're going to spend time to invest a shitload of money in ticket prices and parking and food, and you're going to sit there and watch the Jets get their ass kicked, I'd leave early too. I don't blame any Jet fan that left. It's embarrassing. And if the Jets want to do something about it, play better, because it's a joke that we have to continue to watch this team get their ass kicked. No one's expecting a win, but it is a joke that they have been blown out the amount of times they've been. Like, Robert Saleh is like a nicer version of Adam Gase at times this year, because what we're watching right now from the Jets, where they're non-competitive and get their ass kicked, it's a lot of Adam Gase memories that I'm having. I'm not saying Saleh's got to go. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. He obviously needs more time, and we know the roster is dog shit. But that does not mean that he gets a pass here either. It's his defense that's getting torched, and he's the one saying last week that he doesn't want to be involved with the defense as much. Well, that's got to change. You're a head coach who got the job because you're supposed to be a stud defensive mind. Then go out there and make the adjustments necessary, because they had 10 days to prepare for this, and they went out there and they stunk. Matthew Siegel writes in, let the kid play next week. Wilson needs to perform. Yeah, he's got to perform, but he is going to play next week. If there's anything, this game today shows you that there is no quarterback controversy. That it's Zach Wilson's team, and he's got to play down the stretch. And let's hope for our sanity that Zach Wilson plays well. Roberto writes in, when is Douglas going to take heat for his abysmal record since taking over? He's 4-21 and 0-9 in the division. Yeah, Roberto, look, the heat is going to start to turn up for Joe Douglas, but he's not getting fired. So, like, I don't want to come on the show and say fire Douglas, because I don't feel that way. I'm never going to tell you something that I don't feel. The reality is the Jets screwed up by the timing of which he was hired. They hired him in June of 2019 after McCagnon spent all the money and spent all the draft picks. So that 7-9 year one for Douglas, like, it was for Gazy. Like, the team was bad. You had Adam Gase. You had to clear out all the McCagnon mess and all the Gase mess. They're still in the process of doing that. That being said, you had last year. You now have this year. He's not going to get next year if this team is still as bad as they've been. Like, the Jets now have 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. They'll have cap flexibility. Joe Douglas has to fix this team. If the Jets are in a spot a year from now, like where they're at right now, 2-7, then you can argue he should be go. Ultimately, he's going to be judged on two things: Zach Wilson and Robert Saleh. If Saleh's a good coach and Wilson's a good quarterback, Douglas will be here long term. If he's not, he's gone too. So the heat will start to be put up a little bit on Joe Douglas. We could turn that heat up, but we're not there just yet. Unfortunately. I want to see this team get better, but the fact of the matter is his trades have been good. Some of his draft picks have worked out well, like Michael Carter, both of them. Elijah Moore looks like a player. Elijah Vera Tucker's a stud. We will wait and see on Zach Wilson. We will wait and see on some of the other picks. Mekhi Becton's got to come back and get healthy. There are some things to like about what Douglas has done. Obviously, it's not enough, though, but he needs more time. He needs another full offseason. He got a 6-year contract. He knew this team was dog shit. He knew that this team was going to take a while to be developed. So we just got to be a little more patient. And I hate using that word because I don't want to tell Jet fans to be patient. Some of you have been waiting since 1969 for a Super Bowl, so I get it. Some of you weren't alive, like I wasn't, the last time the Jets won. So using the P word frustrates me as much as anyone, but I just think we got to be patient with him in particular because that's just the situation the Jets are in. You can't just keep firing coaches and GMs. Douglas is going to get more time. He's going to get a chance to make some of these picks. He traded away Adams. He traded away Darnold. He traded away Herndon. He's going to get a chance to use those picks and try and rebuild this team. That's just a reality. Manny writes in, I blame Namath for the freaking guarantee in 69. Yeah, maybe Joe made a deal with the devil, right? I mean, my God. Scott writes in, so much for Mike White, the savior. Yeah, I mean, Mike White is not the savior. Could have told you that the second it happened. Some of you didn't want to listen, though. Some of you wanted to just take shots at Zach Wilson and say he stinks. Look at Mike White. Look what he did. The reality is Zach Wilson was picked second overall for a reason. He needs reps. He needs experience. He's got 8 games left to take full advantage of that. Matthew was at the game. 65% Bills fans at MetLife. Yeah, it's a disgrace. The Jet fans that still go, I respect the hell out of you. It's tough to go to that stadium. 1, the stadium sucks. And 2, it's just the team's not any good. Give us a watchable product, and I promise you the Jet fan will show up. Let's see. Grant Norris goes, don't you go to that game, Jake. Grant, I'm guessing you're referring to the Houston Texans game. Well, I'll be there. I'm looking forward to it. Anthony goes, Jake, no Jets fans are going to show up in Houston if we keep playing like this. Actually, that's the difference. There are so many New Yorkers that live here in Houston. There will be a lot of Jet fans that will go to that game. So I am I'm looking forward to interacting with the Jet fans. There's a good chance the best part of that game, though, is going to be the pregame tailgate in the Blue Lot at NRG Stadium, for being real. Anthony writes in, how about that 30-yard catch by Corey Davis and that fumble? Horrendous. And we talked about this earlier in the show. Horrendous. I mean, Corey Davis has been a big disappointment. He had a good week 1. I was excited. He's had too many drops. And, I mean, that play is just a microcosm of the season. It's a great catch, great play to go up and stab the ball and fumble. And the momentum that the Jets started to build at that point totally went out the window once that happened. It's just horrible. GVR is terrible. Yes, he is. And if LDT is not starting next week, I will be frustrated. Enough of Greg Van Roten. Look, Mike White was awful today, but that first interception, you want to know why he threw it? Because he got pressured up the middle because GVR just whiffed on a block. So you could blame that one on Greg Van Roten. Parking should be free at this point. Yes, if you go to MetLife, the Jets should pay you to be there. That's how bad it's been for this team. Chris writes in, what moves do you want to see moving forward? Because this team isn't getting it done. Look, Chris, any moves you're going to make, it's not going to happen until the offseason. That's just a reality. Any moves the Jets make is not going to happen until the offseason. The only move that they can make, and it's an obvious one, and it will happen this week, Zach Wilson's playing quarterback next week. And then he's going to play quarterback the game after that, and the game after that, and the game after that. Why? Because he's the future of the team, and we need to find out if he's any good. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Zach Wilson's great. I don't know. I know he's played 6 games. There's been some good, and there's been some bad. He needs to play. He needs to get LaFleur calling him plays from the booth, and he needs to go out there and play well and show that he can play within the structure of this offense. The same way Mike White did against the Bengals. The difference is if teams want to load the box to stop Mike White and take away the checkdowns, Mike White can't beat you downfield with his arm. Zach Wilson can. That's the difference. Zach Wilson's ceiling is infinitely higher than a backup quarterback taken in the 5th round. He's got to play. Hopefully he plays well, but we got to find out, good or bad, what Zach Wilson is. That's the reality. See what we got here. Jets gang still believes in Joe Douglas. All right. Let's see. Marty K writes in, is Saleh better than Gase? You slagged me off the other week asking this. Gase won 7 games his first season. Well, a couple things here, Marty. One, Gase had a much better team in 2019 than the team that Saleh had, believe it or not. But also that 7-9 stretch, like the Jets started 1-7 that year, and they won 6. They went 6-2 down the stretch. But look at the teams they beat. They beat the Steelers with Mason Rudolph. How'd that work out today for Pittsburgh? They went out there and they beat the Bills, who didn't even play Josh Allen in Week 17. Like when they played a good team during that 6-2 stretch, they got just lambasted by the Ravens. So, like, yeah, Gase won 7 games his first season, but that's not saying much. And obviously, Saleh's taken over a team that's coming off a 2-win season. Look, Saleh's got to give us more. This team's got to play better down the stretch. The Jets are not going to finish 2-15, though. If they finish 2-15, then we got to have a real conversation about Robert Saleh. I'm not there yet, though. Look at the schedule coming up. There's some games for the Jets to win. I'm predicting 6-11. That was what I had before the year. I'll stay with it. I know on a day like today, no one thinks the Jets are ever going to win a game again, and I get it. But we've said the same thing after the Patriot game, and then they go and beat the Bengals. So it's the NFL. Crazy things happen. They got the Dolphins twice, Jacksonville, Philly, Houston. There's games that the Jets can win. They better win them. They're not going to win all of them because we're talking about the Jets, but Wilson's got to play well, and we got to see something here down the stretch. No doubt about that. Larry wants to know, can we fire Woody Johnson? I wish we could. Unfortunately, being a sports fan, well, you guys know this. You can't fire your owner, because I'm sure a lot of you are also fans of the New York Mets who wanted Wilpon gone. I'm sure a lot of you are also fans of the Islanders for all those years before they finally got competent ownership. The Knicks with Dolan, the Rangers with Dolan. So, I totally get it. Also, the fact of the matter is that the Lions and Steelers tied is absolutely hilarious. I just want to point that out. Let's see. Lions offense good from Anthony Lynn. The Lions offense stinks. What are you talking about, Jets game? The Lions offense is awful. The only reason why they tied today is because Big Ben was hurt and it was a monsoon in Pittsburgh. Jared Goff had 114 yards passing today. The Lions offense isn't any good. The Lions are awful. Mike White, we hardly knew ye. Yes. Mike White, we did hardly knew you, no doubt. Worst stadium location in the NFL? Yes. I mean, MetLife is the worst. What else do we got here? Michael Carter is carrying that whole offense on his back. Yes, he is. Michael Carter, a couple bright spots, if we want to get to bright spots in a game in which the Jets got their ass kicked again. Michael Carter looks like a legitimate player. He's very good. I'm excited about him. And I'm also excited about Elijah Moore. Those are 2 nice players on offense, 2 guys that Joe Douglas drafted that are playing well. It's why we got to give Douglas more time. The team stinks right now, but we got to evaluate this team at the end of the year when we see what Zach Wilson did, when we see what this coaching staff has done in totality at the end of the year. And obviously, this defense needs a shitload of work. So we need to see Joe Douglas go out there and fix it, because it's just garbage what we have seen defensively. I'll give you the stat if you're just tuning in. I mean, the Jets defense has allowed 54 points to the Patriots, 31 to the Bengals, 45 to the Colts, and 45 to the Bills in their last 4 games. Awful. Awful. Marty K writes in, Jake, it's still 7 games. Yeah, look, I mean, Gase won 7 games. Great. Where'd that get the Jets? They went 2-14 last year. They were awful. They were absolutely awful last year. They were the worst team I've ever seen in my lifetime. And guess what? Gase is not a good coach. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Robert Saleh is great yet. I don't know. But comparing him to Gase, I think, is a little much. Let's see. Flacco is the future. Good one. GEO. Zach Wilson is already 10 times the quarterback Mike White is, and he's 4 years younger. Zach Wilson is better than Mike White. This shouldn't be earth-shattering to Jet fans. Like, are we going to ignore Zach Wilson's game against the Titans? You think the Jets win that game if Mike White's their quarterback? They don't. So, look, I've been frustrated with this year as much as anyone, but you got to be patient here. Zach's going to come back, and let's hope he plays better here. Let's hope he looks like a legitimate quarterback down the stretch. Let's hope he takes what the defense is giving him. Let's hope his processing speed is a lot faster. He's holding onto the ball too much when he was playing. Get the ball out quick to Moore, to Crowder, to Carter, to Johnson. Like, let's hope that we see a different offense from this team down the stretch. Wayne wants to move Salah to defense. The rookie everything experiment is unwatchable and old. Wayne, I think there is something to hiring a guy, that has no experience. The Jets have done this a lot. It's worked in some cases. In other cases, it hasn't. Like, obviously, Herm Edwards was never a head coach before the Jets hired him. Neither was Rex Ryan. Those guys had some success. Mangini went to the playoffs his first year. He was a first-time head coach. Bowles, 10-6 year one. He ended up being horrible, though. Gase had experience, but he was Adam Gase. So there is something to be said for hiring a coach that is a first-time coach. But, the reality is, name me the experienced coach that was out there that you wanted the Jets to hire. And don't tell me Bill Cowher, because that was not realistic. So I understand the frustration. There's going to be growing pains when you got rookie coach, rookie OC, rookie quarterback. We've seen that. But it's just one of those things where it's like you're not going to move Robert Saleh to defense. This was the same thing when people said, "Oh, well, Rex should be the defensive coordinator. Then they should hire." It's not going to happen. They're going to give Saleh more time. He deserves more time. Comparing him to Adam Gase is ridiculous. Value Books writes in, it's funny that the Jets fans were told this year was a developmental year, and it was obvious with all the moves, but they simply don't want to believe it's a development year. Look, Value Books, it is a developmental year. But the idea that the Jet fan can't be livid, can't be frustrated, can't be pissed with what we have seen for a lot of these games this year, that to me is not fair either. Like, the Jets are not expected to beat the Bills today. Do they really got to lose 45-17 though? Like, do they really got to get blown out? Look at the games the Jets have been blown out in. Do they really got to lose to the Patriots 54-13 with 2 weeks to prepare for an opponent they already saw? Do they really got to lose 26-0 to the Denver Broncos? Like, the Jets are not a good team. We all understand that. But why do they have to get blown the F out? Explain that one to me. Why do they always have to get blown out? We're not asking for wins. We're asking for competency. Competency is competing. Like, if the Jets had a bunch of games this year, like what they did week 1 against the Panthers, where they lost the game, but it was a close game. They had a chance to drive for the win if they recovered the onside kick. I could live with that a lot more. It's tough to stomach, though, these type of games. The only positive from today's game, Jet fans, is that the quarterback controversy, I'm using air quotes, is over. Zach Wilson needs to play, period. Zach Wilson's this team's future, good or bad. Let's find out what he is. Let's find out what he's made of. Let's find out if sitting is going to push him, play with that chip on his shoulder, and play better. The great ones will come back from it and use this as motivation. That's the only benefit from today. There is no controversy. Zach Wilson's got to go out there and play quarterback for this team throughout the final 8 games. Let's see. Larry Romano, very high on Carter. There we go. LT. We were in the minority on who didn't believe the Mike White hype. I don't know if we were in the minority, LT. I just think there were a lot of Jet fans that were just grasping for straws with Mike White. It was an awesome story. It was an incredible moment. But did you think that Mike White was this team's long-term answer? Really? You thought the Jets were going to get a break for once? Like, come on. The Jets are not going to find their Tom Brady. It's not going to happen. Like, the only way for the Jets to get it right is to hit on one of their own in the draft, not luck into a quarterback. Like, cursed franchises like the Jets, we don't get luck. So Mike White was never going to be the answer. Zach Wilson can be if the Jets help him. And if Zach goes out there and proves why they invested the 2nd overall pick into him, I don't know if he's going to be good or not. We've seen good. We've seen a lot of bad. I hope Zach Wilson goes out there, though, and shuts a lot of people up and plays well over these next 8 games. The next 3 that I keep alluding to are winnable games. Really, the schedule for the Jets down the stretch has a lot of winnable games. Miami twice, Houston, Philly, New Orleans, Jacksonville. Win some games. Shut us up. Shut us up. If the Jets don't want to hear about how bad they are, then shut us up and go win some games down the stretch. Mike Donovan writes in here, good comment on the single coverage on the dig scheme is a major problem with the talent they have. The coaches need to adjust. They unfortunately need to be more of a read and react defense. Yeah, it ends up not mattering because the Jets were just torched all over. But how the hell are they putting single coverage on Stephon Diggs that many times? Like, you saw Josh Allen look at it and knew where he was going with the ball. Why wouldn't you throw on the Jets if they're going to leave one of the best receivers in the NFL single covered? Like, come on, man. And like, the Jets defense is so predictable. The Jets defense is like the Bills know what they were doing. It was obvious. Like, they were on the same single high set And it's obvious when they're blitzing. It's obvious when they're dropping back. It's obvious when they're playing man coverage. They play way too much man coverage for the talent they have. They get picked apart. They need to adjust. And that to me is on Robert Saleh. Look, I'm not going to defend Robert Saleh. Believe me, the last thing I'll do is be a homer for the Jets. Robert Saleh has to be more involved with his defense. He cannot be hands off and let Ulbrich continue to run the defense. Can't do it. Robert Saleh got this job because he's a defensive guy. Fix the defense that's been getting absolutely torched. So I would like to see Robert Saleh be way more involved with this defense going forward. Given the schedule coming up, there is no excuse for this Jets defense to not drastically improve. If they get torched by the Dolphins and Jacoby Brissett or Tua, they get torched by Davis Mills or Tyrod Taylor, if they get torched by Trevor Lawrence or Trevor Siemian, I'm going to lose my mind. Like I won't do these shows anymore if that continues to happen. I'm done. It's not good for my health. So they got to fix this, man. It should not be this bad. I get the injuries. I get the rookies they're playing. The Jets lead the NFL in rookie snaps. We all understand this team stinks, that they're rebuilding, that they're trying to develop young players. Shouldn't be this bad. Should not be this bad. Anthony writes in, Jake, can we really say those games are winnable? Those teams can't wait to play us. No one takes us serious. I don't think people understand when I say winnable games. I had this argument with someone on Twitter as well. I'm not saying the Jets are going to win all those games. If they do, I'd be shocked. But what I am saying is today against the Bills, they were not winning this game. Like, even if you're the most optimistic Jet fan in the world, did you really think they were going to win as 14.5-point underdogs against a Bills team that's coming in off their overlooked loss they had last week? Like, that was the Bills' stinker for the year. They're not losing to the Jaguars and Jets in back-to-back weeks. So the Jets were never winning today. I'm pissed they weren't competitive. But when I say there's winnable games, it means that they have a chance to win, that they should not lose the way they lost today. Of course, all those teams think the Jets are a winnable game for them as well. But that doesn't mean the Jets can't win. Like, the Jets have 2 wins this year over the Titans and the Bengals. So now that the schedule is finally softening up, they need to take advantage of that and win some games. And we got to see something from this team down the stretch here. So when I say winnable, it means the Jets have a chance to win. It doesn't mean I'm predicting that they're going to win. So yes, it's fair to say that those games are winnable. Doesn't mean they're going to win all of them. They won't, because we're the Jets we're talking about, but they're winnable games. Let's see what you guys are thinking here. Chico writes in, the problem is the defense. Chico, I also saw your comment about the kind words about the show. Thank you so much. Look, it's obvious the problem's the defense. The beginning of the year, the problem was the offense. It is now drastically shifted to the defense. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the offense is still not a problem. It is, but let's see what this offense is now with Zach Wilson finally back at quarterback and seeing if he's learned from sitting, if he's learned to play within the structure of the offense, and if John Beck and LaFleur can coach the best out of him. I still think Zach Wilson's going to be good. So I just need to see it now over these next 8 games. The good or the bad, Zach Wilson's got to play. There's no doubt about that. Let's see. Ralph writes in, Jets tackles too soft. Every week they're manhandled. Ralph, there's something to the Jets being a little soft. How about the fact that the Buffalo Bills cheap-shotted Mike White twice after the whistle, and the Jets didn't do anything? And obviously there should have been penalties thrown there. It ends up not mattering because the Jets were a disaster. But, I mean, how about the fact that none of the linemen got in any of the Buffalo Bills defenders' face? Like, stick up for your quarterback. Like, that was weak sauce, man. That was terrible. And shame on the NFL refs, because how do they miss 2 blatant missed calls? You can't hit the quarterback after the whistle. I don't care if there's a timeout called or not. That doesn't give you the right to manhandle the quarterback. You think if that happened to Josh Allen, they're not throwing the flag there twice? Like, give me a break. That was BS. It ends up not mattering. I know the Jets suck. They lost. But that was BS that was allowed to happen. And let me know if you agree in the comments, because I was livid in real time watching that the refs just didn't pick up the flag. Meanwhile, Zach Wilson got hurt in the first place on a cheap shot that wasn't called. And now Mike White's almost getting knocked out of the game because of cheap shots. A joke. An absolute joke. Nishant wants to know biggest needs on defense. Corner, linebacker, safety, pass rusher. They have needs all over. I mean, I'd say the biggest need is probably corner, like another shutdown corner and safety. But I'm not drafting a safety in the top 10 where the Jets are going to be picking. We went through that with Adams. We're not doing that. If you're drafting a guy that high who's a non-premium position, You're not doing it. They certainly need to upgrade at linebacker. They certainly need to get more production out of their edge rushers. I mean, my God, John Franklin Myers, does he play? He got paid. He's done nothing. So I'd like to see that. But corner, linebacker, safety, they have needs all over this defense. All over the defense, they have needs. Let's see. What else are you guys thinking here? Thanks to everyone who's taken time to watch. If you're new to the channel, I suspect we have a lot of new people watching. Do me a favor. If you like the Jets and, well, you like talking about the Jets, you can subscribe right over here. Hit that subscribe button. You also could like the video down below. That's that thumbs up icon. That's how you could pay me, basically. You could thank me or pay me, essentially, for doing this show where we talk Jets football by just subscribing and liking, trying to get to 8,000 subscribers. Jet fans, you guys are the best. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. Anthony wants to tank for Thibodeau. That's not going to happen. The Lions and Texans are far worse. Look, guys, the Jets are bad, but they're not going to be the first pick of the draft. And that's where Thibodeau is going to end up going, it looks like. Rafi writes in, should Joe Douglas be on the hot seat entering 2022? Yeah. He doesn't get a free pass forever. He's not going to get fired after this year. He's going to get another draft. He's got 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. So we got to be patient with his process here. Some of his picks, they worked. A lot of his picks, they had not. So yes, Joe Douglas, I mean, do I want to say hot seat? I don't think he's going to get fired after 2022 if I'm projecting ahead, because I happen to still think the Jets could be headed in the right direction if Zach plays well here down these final 8 games. But, I mean, they're far away right now. And Douglas doesn't get a pass forever. Make no mistake about it. What else do we got here? The only way management will change is if fans don't show up to games. Mike, they just changed management, though. Like, that's the thing. They just changed management. They fired Gase. They brought in Douglas, who then finally got to pick his head coach. The reason why they're in this spot is because of the timing of the Douglas hire. Douglas should have been hired when they fired Bowles and McCagnon, and then he should have picked his head coach then if they liked Joe Douglas so much. That's the problem with all this. The Jets have never gotten the timing right. That's why they're in this spot. Salah said Wilson's still dealing with stuff and is not sure if he's going to play against Miami. I'd be shocked if Zach Wilson's not playing against Miami. I know he's still recovering from his injury, and that's fine. If he's close to 100%, he should be out there. If he's 90%, he should be out there. Let's go. We got to see something from this quarterback. Let's see him play well down the stretch. Let's see what we got here. Jake, how can I ask a question? Well, Travis, you wrote in the comment section, so that's how you can ask your questions. It's exactly the same way you wrote in here. Appreciate all the fellow Jet fans that are sticking with us here. Flacco versus Miami. God, I hope not, man. Like, I think Zach's going to play next week. I'm not allowing myself to think that he's not. He's going to play next week, though. I refuse to think anything else. What is Salah's responsibility? To get this team playing well, for young players to develop throughout the year, for Zach Wilson to look competent by the end of the year. Look, we're at the midway point. 2-7 is not where the Jets want to be, but the reality is most of their wins going into the year, if you just looked at the schedule, they were going to come in the second half of the season anyway. Like, I just went through the schedule, and that's why there's, quote, winnable games for the Jets. That doesn't mean they're going to win them. I'll repeat. I'm not sitting here telling you the Jets are going to finish the year and, they're going to be, 10-7. That's not happening. They'll probably lose out of those all those winnable games. They'll probably lose at least 2 of them. But I don't think they're going 2-15 either. So there's a balance there. Win games, play better. Zach Wilson comes back and plays well. Let's see. NY Jets Florida writes, and I have to say our O-line has improved. It is true it has improved. GVR is still a major weakness. So I would hope that the Jets, with their 2 first-round picks, one of them is on a center or one of them is on a guard. If they could get the kid Green from A&M, I love that guy. He's a stud. I watch him up close here in Houston. If they could get Lindenbaum, the center from Iowa that everyone's falling in love with, I'd be in love with that pick as well. They clearly still need to improve the O-line, but make no mistake about it, the O-line has been a lot better. It's not a sieve like it was at the beginning of the year. AVT is really good, and when we get Becton back, let's see what he could do with Moses, and obviously you still have Fant, who's been pretty good filling in for Becton. The line is not a major weakness. It's not good, but it's not a sieve like it was at the beginning of the week. Chris writes in, Jake, I don't know how you make these videos week in, week out, especially since the team is atrocious. Chris, it's not easy, man. It's not easy, but I have fun, growing this YouTube channel. It's not just Jets; it's mostly Jets, but we post clips to other New York sports topics as well. I'm also a diehard Yankees fan and Knicks fan and Islanders fan, so we'll talk New York sports on the channel as well, and I'll post clips from the radio show. So look, it's fun. We got 236 people watching right now, and I appreciate all of you for supporting the channel and talking Jets with the good or the bad. There's been good, but there's been a lot more bad, as we know. So it is what it is. Travis, you figured out how to write a question. There we go. BYU fan, new to the Jets rebuild. Because of Zach, easy for me to say to be patient. In all fairness, this is a new rebuild. Yeah, Travis, look, the thing to know about the Jet fan is they're arguably the most passionate fan in the NFL. So while it is a rebuild, it's year one of a head coach, it's year one of a quarterback, but coming off a 2-win season, we've been watching this garbage for the last 10 years since the Jets last made the playoffs. And before that, it's not like the Jets were a franchise of model stability. Like the Jets in their history have mostly been bad. They obviously had a run with Namath. They had a run in the early 80s. They had a run with Parcells. They had a run a couple of years with Herm. But for the most part, since Rex, this team has been a joke. And really, in the history of the franchise, has been way more bad than good. So that's why the Jet fan is livid, because we've seen the same thing. We've been sold so many different rebuilds. My job is to try and articulate the positives and where things need to get better. My job is to say that they need to be – the Jets obviously believe in Zach, and you as a BYU fan, Travis, you get it. The Jets believe in Zach Wilson, and he needs more time, all right? Wilson's got 8 games left this year. Let's see what he could do. If they go out there and get their rear ends kicked like this, with Wilson still playing down the stretch, then I don't even know what to say at that point. Then it's like the franchise is just broken. But, we need to see Wilson play, hopefully play well down the stretch. That will go a long way towards this team, hopefully growing into a team that could get better this offseason and then compete going forward. Let's see. Way and Nephew writes in, Quinnen Williams non-existent in this game. Is DT a natural position for QW? Yeah, that's his natural position, and he has been non-existent. If you missed it at the top, I just went to town on the Jets defensive line. John Franklin Myers is a ghost since he's been paid. Not good. Where is this D-line that Robert Saleh had the audacity, the gall, to say it's the best D-line unit he's ever coached, the Joe Buck and Troy Aikman last week? Are you kidding me, Robert? How? This Jets defensive line doesn't do anything. They were good at the beginning of the year, but they have just been mollywomped. No one makes any plays. So, look, I get Carl Lawson's not out there. He was going to be really good for this team. I get Vinny Curry's not out there, and he was going to be a nice depth veteran signing. But I'm sorry. Where the hell is this defensive line? Why can't they impact the game like they were at the beginning of the year? It's not good enough. I'm sorry. It's pathetic. It's not good enough. Let's see. Matthias weighing in, another embarrassing. Need a Joe Beningo rant? I tried at the beginning. I don't know if you saw the beginning, but look, Joe B's the GOAT of the Jet rant. I'm just happy to be able to bring some fire and passion to this disgusting franchise at times as well. Let's see. What else do we got here? And Anthony wants to know, can we say that Salah's in over his head? It doesn't look good right now, but I wouldn't say he's in over his head. I don't think we're at that point yet. This is a very young team. They lead the NFL in rookie snaps. They're on their backup quarterback. It's not good, and the defense has been disgusting. The defense has been terrible. But I think a lot of it's also because the roster is so bad defensively. You have all these injuries. They weren't good on defense to begin with, but now you have no Marcus May. You have no LaMarcus Joyner. You have no Carl Lawson. You're getting exposed. You're getting exposed, and that's a real problem. So I wouldn't say Salah's in over his head, but I will say this: he's got to show us something, man. This was embarrassing today. Go out there and take a stranglehold of your defense. You're supposed to be the defensive guy. Do something about it. Do something about it. Jonathan says this is the first year of Douglas and Saleh. Can we give them a little time? We could still finish 7-10 or 6-11, considering how many really bad injuries we've had. That's not bad. Look, Jonathan, when you got to understand that when you have a game like today, no one's going to be thinking positive. If the Jets beat the Dolphins next week, though, the attitude is going to change, just like it changed after the Bengals game when there were some Jet fans that thought the Jets could get back into the in the hunt graphic on the television screen. That was never happening. This team's not good enough. So I'll say this. I still think the Jets win 6 games this year. I really do. I think Zach Wilson comes back and plays well. So I'm not giving up on Douglas. I'm not giving up on Saleh. I'm willing to be patient and let the process play out. But the reality is, when you have a game like today, no one's going to be feeling positive after what they watched, because this was just a joke. It was a disgrace. I mean, I don't know what else to say, right? So, yes, it's the first year of Saleh. He needs more time. They're not going to fire him. Douglas is not going to get fired when he set the team up to have all these draft picks. Got to be patient. And if you want to point to some positives with Douglas, this rookie class is playing well. Elijah Moore looks good. Both Carters look really good. AVT is one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. Forget just rookies. So there's positives. Let's hope Douglas also got it right with Zach Wilson. We don't know yet. He's played 6 games. So we need Zach Wilson to come back, go out there, and hopefully play well down the stretch. That will make a huge difference here going forward for this team. Let's see. Joe Budo writes in, Zach's going to have to put up 30 or 40 a game for the Jets to win. Yeah, he's going to have to put up points. Make no mistake about it. He's going to have to put up points because right now, this Jets team defensively is a sieve. They're awful. So make no mistake about it. They absolutely need to put up points offensively, but the defense can't be this bad. It's a joke how bad they've been. Backstreet's back, all right. Great name. 175 points in 4 games. That's the worst I've ever seen from any team. Yeah, defensively, the Jets gave up 54 to New England, 31 to Cincinnati, 45 to Indy, and 45 to Buffalo. I'm not good at math, but if that's 175 points, I'll take you at face value. That stinks. This team is awful defensively. What else we say? Wiggly Potato. What a name. Ulbrich said the Pats game wouldn't happen again, and it's happened twice after that. He's got to go if it happens again. There could be changes to the coaching staff if this continues. I don't think Robert Saleh is dumb enough just to keep everyone if they keep getting torched. But I also think Robert Saleh needs to go out there and he needs to be more involved in the defense. I don't want to hear from him after the game, oh, well, I believe in our staff we got over there and I'm not going to be as I don't need to be as have my hands as involved in it. You do. You're the defensive genius. You're the guy who got the job because of your job coaching defenses. So you do got to be more involved. That's a fair criticism by this Jet fan base. If you're not going to get involved with the defense, what exactly do you do? Right? You're not an OC, and you're not involved with the defense. So what exactly are you doing, Robert Saleh? Whatever your CEO persona is supposed to be, right now it's not working. It's okay to take a stranglehold of the defense. Time for the smart Zach to play. Kevin, I think hopefully we see Zach Wilson go out there and benefit from sitting. That's all we could hope to see down the stretch. All we could hope to see. Grant writes in, Zach used a tight end in college a ton. Jets need to bring in a solid tight end. Talked about this earlier, Grant. Couldn't agree more. If the Jets were smart, one of their top picks is on a tight end. They got 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. Draft a tight end, sign a tight end. Mike Gesicki's a free agent. There's other guys out there. It's time the Jets address the tight end position. Ryan Griffin stinks. Tyler Kroft wasn't that good to begin with, and he was hurt, so you're really thin at that position. Invest in tight ends. It will help a young quarterback have a security blanket over the middle. And the reality is, when the Niners offense was at its best, guess who their best offensive player was? George Kittle. So the Jets certainly need to go out there and invest in the tight end spot. Make no mistake about it at all. I see Travis also writes in that the Jets should go after a tight end in free agency. Yeah, the tight end is a major, major weakness for this team. Major weakness. Charles writes in, do you ever think this coaching staff will ever be good enough? I'm doubtful. I mean, look, I'd be doubtful too. I mean, I'm doubtful. We're Jet fans. But my point is, I don't want to defend Saleh. Today was awful. The coaching staff has been bad defensively. But my point is, you're not going to fire Saleh after a year, so it's not going to happen. They're not going to do it. The Jets will tell you they like Saleh. The players like Saleh. I think this team is just. I mean, they're just they lack talent. They lack enough talent. Douglas needs to put together a better defense this offseason. The injuries have killed this team, and the lack of just impact players on defense, we've seen it. So, I mean, I'm skeptical, but I'm skeptical always with the Jets. The Jets don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. So I mean, ultimately, they need to add more talent. I think NY Jets Florida here, he makes a really good point. Like Mike McCarthy, was supposed to be run out of talent last year in Dallas in year one. Well, all of a sudden, the Cowboys are one of the best teams in the NFC. Why? Look at that roster, man. Look who Dak's throwing to. Dan Quinn comes in, and that's a good DC that's maximizing the talent he does have on that defense. They spent in free agency to try and improve that defense. They went out there and they drafted Parsons in the first round, who's been a game changer for that defense. So, I think the talent level is just not good enough to sit here for us to truly evaluate Salah. I'm not saying he's been good, and I'm not saying he should get a pass because he shouldn't. It should be better than what we've seen. And hopefully over these final 8 games, we start to see something. A young team should be getting better as the year goes on, but they need more talent, man. There's no doubt about that. Make no mistake about it. Rob Power wants the Jets to bring back Rex. I love Rex. Rex is one of my favorite people. It's not happening, though. He's been out of the game far too long. It didn't end well with the Jets. You're not bringing Rex back. And the revisionist history we have with Rex is a little ridiculous. Rex to me was the man. I loved Rex, but when it was over for him, it was over for him. It was time to go. We're not going back to Rex Ryan. This isn't Billy Martin getting rehired by George Steinbrenner. All right, I love Rex, but he's been out of football for far too long. I know he would take the Jet job in a second, but I'm sorry. It's the Rex Ryan stuff is fun, but it's not going to happen. Keep It Simple RC also makes a great point. Rex benefited from Mangini's roster. He did. Rex definitely did benefit from Mangini's roster. Doesn't take away what Rex did, though. Going to a championship game 2 straight years with a rookie and second-year quarterback and Mark Sanchez is certainly impressive. Those were the glory days. But then what happened after that? Like the Jets in 12, 13, 14, it was time to move on from Rex. And I love Rex, and he's excellent on TV. I enjoy his passion. I love the fact that he's still a Jet fan, but Rex Ryan is not coming back. Robert Saleh is not getting fired after 1 year either. With that being said, we're going to wrap up the show right now. I want to thank all of you who watched. Thank you, Jet fans. Today sucked, but you guys are incredible. Please do me a favor. Subscribe over here. You can help the channel. Like the video down below and comment your thoughts. By doing that, you help boost the YouTube algorithm for this video on this channel. And that means more people see it. So I'm going to refresh my my YouTube right here. Right now I'm at, let's see. I'm at 7,984 subscribers. So I'm close to that 8,000 number I'm looking to hit. I'm almost there. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to watch this channel. So smash the like button, smash the subscriber button. Thanks to everyone who took time to watch this video. Hopefully, Zach Wilson's back next week. Hopefully, the Jets go out there and put together a much better effort because it cannot get any worse. Positives, Jet fans, Dolphins, Texans, Eagles, Saints, Dolphins, Jaguars are the next 6 games that are coming up. So as bad as today was, I think there is some optimism that it won't stay this bad when the Jets finally take on a softer spot in their schedule. Thanks to everyone who watched. We'll have more videos throughout the week on the channel. Once again, you can subscribe right over here. My name is Jake Asman. This has been The Jake Asman Show. You can follow me on Twitter as well. Enjoy the rest of your NFL Sunday, and I'll talk to you guys throughout the week.